I'm not even going to lie, guys. This has given me a headache. First of all, y'all let me know if y'all can hear the fan. I've already explained my situation. Separate AC units. The AC for the bedroom went down. The other AC works fine, but it gets hot in here. So I have a fan on. If it's too loud, let me know. We'll adjust accordingly. So, yeah, I definitely 100% need my fan today because, on top of, not getting AC in my studio, I have to deal with headaches with conference realignment and expansion. It's crazy, guys. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyways, anybody new to the show, welcome to Golden Blue Dude. Talk about college football all the time. So if you're a college football fan, you might want to think about hitting that subscribe button because this video's day after day, one after another after another. I was on a long streak there for a while, actually, and I missed a couple days because I had a stomach bug. That's the only time that I missed a day of college football. That was it. And I was actually thinking about trying to post a video while I'm in bed sick, but I was like, that's still got to have some quality to it. And that would have been. So I broke the streak, but that's it. That's the only couple days that I've missed. If you're not a college football fan, don't do it. Just don't hit the subscribe button because you're not going to like this channel. This is about college football. So there you go. There's the rundown of Golden Blue. We're growing pretty fast, almost to 9,000 subscribers. In fact, you know what? Hold on. Let me check. We are 180 subscribers away from hitting 9,000. So we will definitely hit 9,000 by the beginning of the season. But wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if we hit 10,000 by the beginning of the season? Just saying, that would be cool. Because the goal that we set was to get to 10,000 by the end of the year. And to be honest with you, whenever we set that goal, it was a little lofty. Me and Joey were like, we're going to have to put some work in. We're going to have to put some work in to get to that 10,000 subscriber mark by the end of the year. Now, we're going to have to put some work in to get it before the start of the season, but it's still possible. So, 9,000 going to happen, but 10,000, man, that would be crazy. And by the way, Patreon page. I haven't done a live show for you guys in a while, and I do apologize. My schedule's been crazy. Gonna do one tomorrow for you, okay? So we will have a Patreon-only live show. If you're not a Patreon member, now is a great time. Perfect time to go become a Patreon member because the regular season's rolling around, and that's when I have even more perks. So we have exclusive live videos, and Joey's working on content as far as pre-recorded videos for the Patreon page. We're trying to figure out how to upload that. It's a little tricky, but we will figure it out. But live shows just for the Patreons, discounts on the merchandise store, and whenever the regular season rolls around, that's when things really get cranked up because my Patreons will vote on what game we're going to live stream, and the Patreons get to watch it live with me going to Bluetooth. So we will live stream, and we will watch it live with the Patreons. On top of that, there's one more big thing for my Patreon members. That's the score prediction contest. I like to reward my Patreon members. We started it last year. It was a massive success. So we're going to bring it back again this year. Every single week, I will pick out a game. Whichever one of my Patreons is closest to the correct score prediction wins $20, and I give away $20 every single week. And you can win there's no limit on how many times you can win. So if you're good at it, you can win a lot of money. A lot of money. And the cool thing is the higher the Patreon, the more guesses you get per week. So if you're a $5 Patreon, you get 5 guesses per week. $20 Patreon, 20 guesses per week. So there you go. And as usual, my message, please hit the like button. I don't know why live shows don't remind their viewers to hit the like button more, because it really does help the video. It's not a pat on the back. That's not what the like button's for. It helps this video hit the YouTube algorithm, and whenever it hits the YouTube algorithm, it gets suggested more. When it gets suggested more people see it, more people click on it, and boom, we have a bigger audience. So if nothing else, just hit the like button, and that helps as well. But if you do have a message for me, you got a question you want me to answer, you want to address me, you want me to answer it live on the show, or if you just have a comment you want me to read, you want to make fun of me, troll me, it's all good. It's the super chat is what you want to do. That is the little dollar sign down on your bottom right corner. Hit that dollar sign. Whatever you type in the comments, I will put on the screen. If it's a question, I will read the question and answer it the best I can. And if it's a comment, I'll just read the comment. But I will put it on the screen, and we go from there. And anyways, you know what? Y'all already know, if you've been watching the live show recently, you already know what I'm about to say. I forgot to put the StreamYard link again before I started the show. Why have I not learned my lesson? I don't know. But I'm working on that right now, guys. Give me 1 second. Make sure everything's right here. So, yeah, I really need to start remembering to type in the link before I start. But, you know, my brain is not good at that as far as remembering little things, even if it's a daily thing. I'm pretty good at remembering the big things, but little things, and it drives my wife crazy. Trust me, it drives her absolutely nuts. But anyways, let me get that in there real quick. I think we're almost there. And hey, let me make sure I got it all correct, because sometimes you do mistype. Got it. 3 R 90 48 4S8. That's it. There you go. All right. So the way we do a call-in show is we don't have a number that you call. All you do is click that link in the comment section, StreamYard link. It'll put you in the background. If you don't want to be on camera, that's fine. Just turn your camera off. Basically like a phone call. There you go. And with StreamYard, we've figured out that you can hear better. It's less chances of people talking over each other because there's no delay or anything like that. So yeah, just trade in, if you would. Show me your face real quick, then you can turn the camera off. It's just to make sure that I'm not being botted or anything like that. So turn it on, turn it off. Well, he jumped out. Never mind. So yeah, if you want to jump on, whenever you hit the link, just show your face real quick, okay? And then you can turn your camera off. I'm not going to put you on the screen if you're not good with being on camera. That I don't roll that way. That's not cool. I wouldn't do that to you. But today, my gosh, we all know that the ACC is treading water. Like that's a fact. The ACC is most definitely treading water. But Jim Phillips seems to think not only is the ACC not treading water, but they are
in position to make big moves.
Make big expansion, yeah. Crazy. So we have a Miami fan in Tony, and we have a Pitt fan in Talk is Pitt. So this is a perfect subject for you guys. So how surprised are y'all with the level of confidence that Jim Phillips has, not just adding teams, but getting to 20? Like I'm sure he realizes that the SEC wants to bump some brands up, but he's pretty convinced that even if that happens, the ACC can still be bumped up to 20 members.
Yeah, and you can answer first, Talking Pitt.
I always thought the ACC should have expanded in the first place, because I knew we weren't going to get Notre Dame. I knew Notre Dame was going to pull some trick out of the hat to try to stay independent and look what's going on.
Which is BS.
It is, because if Notre Dame doesn't join the ACC, we're screwed as far as getting a better TV deal unless we bring in somebody else. And the only way I see that happening is if we bring in at least anybody from Texas that's a Power 5 football team.
You know what?
How about bringing in?
Hold on. It's funny that he mentioned that because if you watch my video earlier about all the teams he's talking about, I listed. He talked about Washington, Oregon, Cincinnati, Stanford, Arizona State. But then the ACC wants to make sure that they do get a Texas team. So
yeah,
he is thinking about that. It's just which one would they be able to get? Number one, I wouldn't go after SMU. I don't think that adds any value at all. If you're going to go after a group of 5, current group of 5, soon to be Big 12, I think it would be Houston. But if I were the ACC, I would really focus on Texas Tech and Baylor. Texas Tech has the biggest fan base. People don't realize Texas Tech has some wealthy boosters. So first tier, Baylor, Texas Tech.
How about Texas Christian?
Second tier, Houston and TCU. And then bottom of the barrel, I guess if you want to add just to be adding, SMU. So I want to go to Will. What do you think about this? Is there any substance to this at all, do you think? Or is this just a bunch of conjecture?
I think the Big 12 needs to make a move, and they need to make a move now because there's only going to be 3 big conferences left. We already know it's the SEC and the Big 10 are already good. So it's either the Big 12 or the ACC that's going to fall next. And I actually like the Big 12 better than the ACC.
So what you're thinking is the reason Jim Phillips is saying that is he knows it's going to come down to the Big 12 and the ACC. And if the ACC doesn't do something, then it'll be the Big 12.
Correct.
Right. That makes sense.
Personally, I think the Big 12 should go after Miami.
I've had a lot, dude, that I might actually do a video on that because I've heard a lot of people bring that up.
Take them. Take Miami. I can't stand them.
Well, not just Miami. Hold on. Not just Miami. I would take in Miami, Pitt, maybe a Louisville and a Virginia Tech. I think that'd be great, to be honest with you, for the Big 12. See, a lot of people kind of misunderstand me. They think that I just hate the Big 12. I'm trying to get West Virginia out of the Big 12 at all costs. That's not true. If the Big 12 expands and grabs some East teams, especially the teams that I mentioned, Miami, Virginia Tech, Pitt, and Louisville, I'm like, stay. That gets us a good TV deal. We get to play teams we want to play. It would probably go to a pod system, so travel would be much, much better. So I'm hoping that one of those two things happen. Either the ACC expands and West Virginia is one of the teams, or the Big 12 expands and grabs those 4 teams. That I'm good either way. One of those two scenarios. It doesn't have to be ACC or bust. I know Joey wants to get in on this real quick. Joey barely beat you, Tony. I know you dropped. I will bring you back in here in a minute. Sorry about that. I know, Joey, you want to get in on this real quick?
Yeah, I'm not going to stay long. I wanted to.
Oh, hey, Joey.
I think what the Big 12 should do, in all honesty, is
your volume is a little low, Joey. Your volume's a little low.
Let's see if let me make sure I got the right mic on here. Let's see.
I'm actually surprised you said Pitt to the Big 12. I was thinking that the whole time, but I never said it because I don't like to travel. That's one thing I don't like is traveling all the way down to Texas for an away game or anywhere near that state.
Well, that's why I'm saying if the Big 12 can expand and grab those 4 teams out of the ACC, they can go to pods. That way, most of your games are in that central or that eastern region, and you only have maybe 1 or 2 ridiculous road trips you got to make. So, like I said before, the right decision for the Big 12 is to try to get those teams out of the Pac-12, but that sucks for West Virginia. But I'm okay with that if the Big 12 goes east and grabs those 4 teams. They do that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
good to go. I am fine with that. So I mean, I honestly, whenever I heard Jim Phillips say that, I'm going to make a video whether I believe it or not. Okay, y'all know me. Y'all know me by now. I'm going to make a video about it.
Me
But
too.
my confidence level on him actually coming through with that is not. It's not very high. I think it's more likely that the Big 12 can grab some teams out of the ACC, and then the SEC can graduate the biggest brands to the SEC, and the brands that'll really be screwed in that scenario is your Boston colleges, maybe a Georgia Tech, a Wake Forest, Duke, depending on if they can tag along with North Carolina. So those lower brands, Syracuse could be screwed as well. I think Pitt's going to be safe no matter what. They could end up in the Big 12 on the east side as well.
We
I would
have
be worried
enough
about Pitt.
boosters.
Yeah.
We have enough booster history and alumni to save ourselves out of any situation. I mean, I think if any ACC team leaves the ACC within the next couple of years, then that will be the start of the downfall of the ACC. And I think Pitt will save itself before things get bad.
Joey, I put you in the back room.
Yeah,
for
for me,
I didn't hear anything, so I'm bringing Tony on for a minute. Go ahead, Tony.
talking Pitt, what hurts Pitt and what hurts Miami is not having an on-campus stadium. Me and Golden Blue were talking about this. We have to use a pro stadium to play our games and stuff like that. So that's what hurts. That's what hurts our value, like as a overall program, which kind of sucks.
It does, but both Pitt and Miami are stuck in a situation they both don't want to be in. So I mean,
well,
Okay, so
if
can you
people
hear me
think
now?
that it's a coincidence that all this is going on, and the Ruiz brothers suddenly announced that they want to build a stadium for the Hurricanes, no, they know that Miami needs their own stadium, and that's why they're revealing that plan.
Yeah.
How long it takes, I don't know. How soon can they break ground? I don't know. But they know Miami needs their own stadium. Pitt's
We got nowhere to play
because you guys have even less land than Miami.
We
How
have
far
nowhere
away
to
would they
put
be
a
willing to
stadium.
go to build one just for Pitt?
Yeah. It's not that there's absolutely no room on campus that we can tear down buildings and put a stadium where it's not going to have a deep economic impact. And to be honest, Heinz Field isn't that far away from the campus of Pittsburgh. It's only a mile.
So what's on what was left of Pitt Stadium? You know what's there now?
The zoo. It's that's the name of the basketball arena.
Okay, I got you. So Pitt demolished their home football stadium and built the basketball stadium for Pitt, and Miami tore down the Orange Bowl and built Marlins Stadium on top of that. I would say Pitt got the better end of the deal because at least you have a building that's associated with your university instead of Miami, who has a failing, miserable major league franchise in the city of Miami where they could have
wait a minute. We're not failing.
For the Canes.
Wait a minute. I'm a Marlins fan. We're not a failing franchise. We've won two World Series championships. So let's not.
Well, I'm talking about right now. Like right now.
Right now.
In the current park, it's a failure so far.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But
I mean, trust me, I remember Gary Sheffield. I remember those Marlin teams. They were legit, but for whatever reason, Miami
the
can't make
ownership
good.
always tore it down after. That's what it was.
Yeah.
He never.
The executive decisions for the Marlins have not been good at all.
Talking Pitt or whatever. How far are you? Like, you said you're only 2 miles away from, like, a mile and a half or 2 miles away from Heinz Field from the main Pitt campus?
Yeah, so Heinz Field is not even a mile and a half. It's 1.1 mile away.
I
Literally.
didn't realize that. I mean, it makes sense though.
Yeah, so the Cathedral of Learning maybe can be walking distance.
Yeah.
Cathedral of Learning, if you were to walk from the Cathedral of Learning to Heinz Field,
out of
that
Miami.
would take you, that'd be about an hour.
Which is pretty good.
Well, I think your connection is well, I think you're back now, but it did cut out. But I think you were trying to say something. We couldn't hear you because it cut out for a minute. Or what did you want to say?
I wanted to say that I'm not too knowledgeable on the Hurricanes, but I've been watching the past few years, and I think they're going to be tremendously better this year than they have been in the past few years.
That's a fact.
I got Miami going to the ACC championship. Winning
agree with that.
That's a different story.
Yeah, and I think, okay, so this is an important year for Miami, okay? We all know conference realignment, blah, blah, blah. SEC doesn't want Miami because they don't want to hurt their
Florida's
blah,
a crybaby.
Florida doesn't want them in. Florida's trying to get everybody on their side to block Miami. So they're trying to raise their value. Reeves brothers, reveal a master plan for a home stadium for Miami. And if you look at that, it looks really, really good, to be honest with you. It actually, if you look at the stadium itself, it actually resembles the old Orange Bowl. So I'm really liking the look. And, they got rid of an average coaching staff and brought in Mario Cristobal. And a lot of people are saying not just the head coach, but Mario brought in an excellent coaching staff, an entire coaching staff. So there's a lot of hype going around Miami right now, and they did really, really well in the transfer portal. So I'm with you, Will. I think Miami is headed for a 10-win season.
Unless we beat them again.
Well, for me, what doesn't make sense. I understand Florida State has a large alumni base, but
Tony, your connection is like really, really bad today.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, Will, but for me, what doesn't make sense. The public schools in Florida are having trouble funding from the state and stuff like that. So for me, it doesn't make sense to bring a school that's struggling to get funding and stuff like that. A public college like FSU who gets their funding from the state. A public college why not bring a private school so you don't have to worry about that?
That's a good point. But they're always going to counter with the crybaby stuff that we've been hearing. Quick reminder to everybody: if you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. It helps grow the video a lot. It's not a pat on the back or anything like that. Helps the video hit the YouTube algorithm. Helps it get suggested more, and more people click on it, and that's how you grow a video. People did it earlier; it's growing. So all the new people, please hit the like. It helps the video tremendously.
Well, who's your team? Will, who's your team by chance?
Mine's the Georgia Bulldogs. Ever since I saw the first game against the Razorbacks when I first moved up the Texas to Arkansas.
That's not a bad team to be a fan of right now.
Yeah.
So
I'm a real fan. I'm not a bandwagoner fan like the rest of them are.
Right. Exactly. So last year, whenever I know a lot of Georgia fans were mad, and I know we're kind of getting off topic, but my brain went to Georgia. Last year, whenever JT Daniels got injured and he was replaced by Stetson Bennett, right? And then JT recovers from that injury, and Kirby Smart sticks with Stetson Bennett. Now, it turns out didn't matter. You had a great defense. That didn't matter. Hold on, Tony. Hold on. From what I was hearing, Georgia fans were extremely mad at Kirby and called him an idiot and all this other stuff, even though they knew their defense was legit, possibly historic. They still wanted the quarterback that gave them the best shot of winning each and every game. What was your personal reaction whenever you found out that JT got healthy, but Kirby was sticking with Stetson Bennett?
Well, I was a little confused at first, I will admit, but I mean,
He's
He
not
was
a
a good
bad
quarterback.
quarterback. He's just not
Yeah,
the
if
best.
it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Right.
He's
But,
Aaron Murray, the bigger body.
Yeah. I think if Aaron Murray would have had the defense that Stetson Bennett had last year, he would have done the same thing. I think he would have had a national championship. I really do. That defense was just – that's the best defense I've ever seen in my lifetime as a college football fan. And I've seen a lot of good ones. That was by far.
Wait,
it's not
over
even
the Miami
close,
defense
the
in the
best.
early – wait a minute. Over the Miami defense in the early 2000s?
Over the 2001 Miami defense, yes. Even the NFL draft will back that up.
Yeah.
Actually, we had more people drafted in the first round off our defense in history.
And how many of those people actually had successful careers, though?
A lot of them.
Well,
did.
I was going by like the overall draft. I do think that Miami still has the record for defensive players in the first round, but like overall, Georgia had more defensive players drafted than Miami. And Miami's a solid number 2. They were number 1 for me before this past year. But I mean, Georgia, if you wipe out that Alabama SEC championship game, Georgia was allowing 6 to 7 points a game. And just because of that one bad game, it bumped them to around 10 points per game. 10 points per game is mind-boggling. But you take out the SEC championship, around 6. That I can't comprehend that. Like
we have 4 Hall of Famers on that defense. I forgot to mention we have 4
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but we don't know how many Hall of Famers Georgia's going to have yet because they were just drafted. So we can't make that comparison until 20 years from now. But to your point, I do agree that Miami has one of the all-time great defenses, and I had them at number 1, 2001 Miami. I still think as an overall team, that's the greatest team in college football history, 2001 Miami Hurricanes. I have them at number 1 as all-time greatest team, but they got dethroned as far as all-time greatest defenses. I'm giving that to the 2021 Georgia Bulldogs. I have to.
Yeah, no, actually, I have a better comparison for Stetson here. Miami of Fan Dorsey.
Joey, I'm just going to add you, okay?
Okay.
Tony, I'm not going to say he's mad or upset, but he's defending his 2001 Miami Hurricanes because I said I thought Georgia's defense last year was the best I've ever seen, and I did have the defense for the 2001 Hurricanes as number 1 for the longest time, but Georgia's got to be number 1.
Stats why when you look at the stats, who had the better in terms of stats like interceptions, points? I thought the Hurricanes only allowed 3 points per game that season.
I would have to go back and check that. I don't. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. So you're wanting points per game?
Yeah, I think we allowed 6.5 or 3.0 points per game or something that season.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. I will look it up real quick. 2001 Hurricanes.
You're right. I mean, I was 12 at that.
They allowed 9.8 points per game. That's why, and I thought it was right around that area because that's why I mentioned the SEC championship. Because of that one game, it bumped Georgia's points per game allowed just over 10 points. You take that one game out, they were allowed between 6 and 7. But yeah, there you go. That's why I had Miami's defense number 1. And on top of that, another thing is they had a pretty good offense. It wasn't historic or all-time great or anything like that, but 42.7 points per game, 3rd in college football that year. So you combine a historic defense with a top 3 offense. That's why I had 2001 Miami as my all-time greatest team. Georgia
over Alabama, the Alabama team from
over Alabama, over 2019 LSU. Yes.
You know what's weird? Alabama fans have that the 2010 Alabama team over the Hurricanes.
No, I disagree with that. Alabama was that's a top 5 historic team, but Alabama was able to take advantage of a slightly down year in college football as well. David Cummings, appreciate your $5 super chat. He says 1994 through 1995, Nebraska were two of the best teams I ever saw. Tom Osborne was maybe number 2 to Bear Bryant. Well, I wasn't around during the Bear Bryant era, but I do agree that those Nebraska teams were filthy. I mean, those teams, you didn't want to play them. They weren't just good. They were mean. They were mean good. So, I definitely agree with that. And for their defense, they allowed 14.5 points per game. It was their offense that just smashed everybody. Think about this. This might be an all-time great offense. 53.2 points per game. Nebraska had 3.2 points per game in 1995. That's insane.
I'm pretty sure we beat Nebraska in 95.
You're probably thinking 94. I don't think it was 95. They went 12.
We owned Nebraska 15 games to 6.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Nobody owned Nebraska in 1995. They went undefeated and won the national championship. That team was nasty.
Wait. Was that? Yeah. Was that one of the seasons that the national championship was actually split between two teams? Was 95 the year
I think that was the year where, I think you're right. I think it was split between Nebraska and Penn State, I'm thinking.
Boo.
No, it was Florida.
Boo. Sorry.
No. It had to have been a Big Ten team or a Pac-12 team that they split it with, because
he said Penn State.
It was the two best teams, not in the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, because back then that's when the Rose Bowl tie-in was like strict. It didn't matter if the second best team was in the Pac-12 or the Big Ten; they were going to play each other in the Rose Bowl. That's why we had a lot of split national championships. So I'm thinking that year was Penn State. I think Penn State beat Oregon and split it with Nebraska. I could be wrong. It might be Michigan, but I'm thinking it's Penn State.
How do you split a national championship? That makes no sense.
In 93, Nebraska was undefeated. Won the national championship. In 95, they were undefeated.
Like Alabama, I thought Alabama won the national. They beat Miami pretty bad in the national championship in
92.
Wait. Alabama.
Yeah, I was 3 years old.
Yep. That was Gene Stallings, I believe, was the coach for Alabama. Alabama had a long drought, and then they won a national championship over Miami. Then they had another long drought before Nick Saban got there. What were you saying, Tony?
I think that was a year that was Dennis Erickson, where we got blown out by because that's another what if. If Jimmy Johnson never went to the Cowboys, how different would college football have been?
Jeff Grimm, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, not much. How are you guys doing today?
Good. What you got for us today?
Well,
Jeff, hold on 1 second before you start.
North Carolina.
Hold on, Jeff.
Jeff, hold on 1 second before you start, because I'm going to jump off of here and get back in the chat. I just wanted to say something. So, Golden Blue Dude is now on podcast. So, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on any podcast format that you can find. So, be sure and search for Golden Blue Dude. I've only got one episode uploaded. I couldn't get it to work until last night and got one uploaded. So, I'll get some more on there. But also, we are creating a Reddit account. So, be sure to send in your meme to Golden Blue Dude on Reddit. And that's something that we will be discussing later on. But we're getting out there everywhere, guys. So be sure and look for us everywhere. We do have someone that's going to start taking care of a lot of things for us and helping us with stuff. So we should be having a bigger footprint out there in the social media world real soon. So be sure and support us everywhere if you would.
Joey putting in some work to get us on all platforms. What happened to Talk Is Pitt? I didn't even realize that he dropped. Where'd you go, buddy? We'll wait on you.
Okay, so I'm getting out of
here. Any other Golden Blue Dude related news before you leave?
No, not right now. We'll have more, but that's all for right now. Jeff, I apologize for interrupting you, buddy. Go ahead.
Hey, no problem. What I'm hearing today is that ESPN is having meetings with the ACC, and they're hoping to get some numbers either this weekend or the beginning of next week.
So now they're in active negotiations. They're not just talking about. They're not thinking about talking about possibly renegotiating. They're actually discussing it.
The ACC, from what I've heard, has reached out to ESPN, and they want some preliminary numbers. They've also asked for some preliminary numbers with certain teams joining.
Right.
Now
so they're trying to get a gauge on. They're trying to get a gauge on what teams move the needle the most.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And I think what ESPN wants is, I don't think ESPN is going to take the Big 12. I think Fox is going to get that contract.
Yeah, they got it.
So I think ESPN would like to see the ACC gobble up certain teams to, one, help the ACC, but also help themselves.
Well, not just that. That's why they're interested in getting the Pac-12. See, a lot of people, including myself, whenever Fox turned down even bidding on the Pac-12, I was like, that's smart. The Pac-12's done, over with. But if somehow ESPN can convince those teams to stick together, give them a halfway decent TV deal, then, they have a two-way front on the Big 12. They could attack them from the West, from the Pac-12, and try to get some teams, and they could also attack from the East, from the ACC, and try to get some teams. I think it's pretty smart. Even if it doesn't work, it's worth a shot.
Yeah, I think the ACC likes the idea, especially after the Big Ten has taken USC and UCLA. I think they like the idea of, why don't we get a couple West Coast teams? That way they could have a real late night game.
Yeah, and if the money's good enough, I mean, we saw it. USC and UCLA, boom, they're gone to the Big Ten. All the ACC has to do, this is simple. People are making it too complicated. In order for the ACC to convince an Oregon, a Washington, a Stanford, whoever, to join the ACC or merge or whatever, is show them, hey, you're going to make more money with us over the Big 12. That is all they have to do. This comes down to money. This comes down to dollar amounts and figures. So if they can present a figure to those bigger brands that's bigger than what they have now or any chance of getting, then they will go. That's all they have to figure out. That's literally it.
And I
So
think
this is a question, Jeff.
Go for it.
This is a question. This is a question for you, Jeff. Let's say that happens. What you guys are talking about, the ACC and the Pac-12 merge. Would you still keep the Pac-12 name, or would you actually just call it the ACC and have it called the All Coast Conference or something like that?
I think
I like
they
All
would keep
Coast.
the Pac-12.
I like All Coast.
But I think they keep the Pac-12 just because of the brand that's out
Tradition.
there.
Tradition.
And they could split the Big 12 in half. Half go to the left, half go to the right.
Right.
Would you guys say Baylor? Would you guys say Baylor? Let's say that happens. Would Baylor, Houston, Texas Tech go to the Pac-12, or would they go to the Baylor, Houston, TCU? Would they go to the ACC or the Pac-12?
Well, here comes the problem. Once you do a merge with the Pac-12, how many schools will the ACC lose? That's the first question you got to ask yourself. You're at 14 right now, 15 if you count Notre Dame. Let's don't count Notre Dame. So you're at 14. So if you drop 4, then you're at 10 and the Pac is at 10. So now you got a 20-team conference.
Right.
Now, keep in mind, every team you're going to add is going to start costing you revenue. So, do you really want to pick up TCU, Houston? I mean, nothing wrong with those schools, but
I think you can if it helps renegotiate a better deal. If you have a deal in place, like that's the figure, it's not moving, then adding any team is stupid. Don't do it. You're just splitting the pie, more ways. What they have to figure out is what teams will bump up the value of the contract. So that's why I mentioned earlier the three teams would definitely be Baylor, Texas Tech, and then it would be a toss-up between Houston and TCU. I think TCU has the higher potential because they're in the fifth largest city. TCU has the experience, so it's like, which one do you want to go with? TCU has the experience, but their brand has taken a hit recently, especially losing Gary Patterson. He was the brand of TCU, so they have an identity crisis right now. And then Houston, they're in the fifth largest city in the nation. So which one do you choose? I would actually probably go with Houston. I think there's more money possible with Houston. I think there's a higher upside. They've shown that they're willing to shovel money in the university. They built them a brand new stadium. There's things in place to expand the stadium, just like Baylor, if necessary, because I think it's right around 40,000 right now, but they have footers and all that stuff in place to expand to 62,000. Baylor has footers and stuff in place to expand to 68 or 69,000. So I would go with Houston. I would say Texas Tech, Baylor, and Houston should be the top three candidates from the state of Texas.
Actually,
okay,
I
then you
disagree
should take
with
BYU.
Do what?
I think then you need to take BYU, and that would give you a 14 team in the Pac-12.
Well, I was saying the Texas team's the ACC. If the Pac-12 wants to pick off from the Big 12, I think they should go after BYU, the Kansas schools. Not sure about Oklahoma State. They might be on the fence. So maybe slide Texas Tech over to the Pac-12, and then you could put TCU, Houston, and Baylor in the ACC.
Right.
That's what I was saying. That's why I disagree with you. I think they would rather have the three biggest cities, the three bigger markets in TCU, Baylor, and Houston, not Texas Tech, because Texas Tech is not really a big TV market.
Oh, I strongly disagree with you. You're going on numbers on that one, and I get the TCU's near Dallas-Fort Worth, but Texas Tech has the number 2 fan base in terms of size in the Big 12, and they own West Central Texas. I even hear a lot of comments in the comment section, non-Texas Tech fans, where they're like, we see a lot of Tech gear in Houston. We see a lot of Tech gear in San Antonio. We see a lot of Tech gear in Dallas, all that stuff. I think Texas Tech is a stronger brand than TCU.
No. For me, this is why I say I think Texas Tech would make more sense in the Pac-12 because they're closer to California than they are to Florida and stuff like that. Distance-wise, they would be closer to California and Arizona and stuff like that than to Miami and stuff like that, or the East Coast. So that's why I'm saying it would make more sense if the two conferences merge. It would make more sense for them to go to the Pac-12 and then have all Eastern the left coast teams from Texas go to the ACC. That's why I said that. I don't care about UCF. Honestly, I could care less about them because of the fact that the idiotic wants them over us. It makes no sense to me.
Okay.
Oh, trust me, the SEC doesn't want UCF.
I actually agree with that. But I guess my point with Texas Tech is if anybody picks up teams from the Big 12, Texas Tech needs to be considered. If geography is out the window and you're going by the biggest brands, you got to go Texas Tech. If it's the Pac-12, then yes, they would be the better fit in the Pac-12. But if the Pac-12 isn't an option, then I would say even the ACC if they want to go coast to coast. So I think we agree on that. It was just we got confused on where.
But I do want to reiterate, the SEC does not want UCF. That might be ESPN's game plan, but it is not in the best interest to put a fourth team in Florida as a power school.
Gotcha. Tim, what's going on, buddy?
Good. How you doing? How you guys doing today?
Pretty good, man. Another interesting topic, and it was because of Jim Phillips. I mean, we're all thinking the ACC is treading water. They have to get Notre Dame or bust. And then he comes out and says the ACC is going to try to get to 20 teams. That blew me away. That's why I had to do a video on it, because I was like, what? I was not even thinking that. I was thinking if they do expand, they lose 4, gain 4, and stay at 14. He wants to get to 20. So what percentage-wise, how much of a chance would you give him?
Well, at this point, I mean, anything is possible, right? But I think everyone's got to get past this paradigm of having like university presidents, ADs, conference, commissioners talk. Let's just call this what this is now. All it is now is these are Fox and ESPN affiliates. That's what these things are. These are franchises now, right? SEC, the Big Ten, they're the shining stars. But to think that now that there's this autonomy, this has all been driven by money. You've seen the meteoric rise of some conference over others. What's it been? It's been because of money, facilities, it's because of location in some cases. But overall, this is all driven by money. And it's ripping the fabric of this beautiful game apart. It sucks. Everyone who says, "Oh, I'm not going to watch it," or just shut up. You're going to watch it because it's part of you. If you really are a fan, you can't just say no anymore.
Yeah.
But this is not college football like we knew it. So who's going to make these decisions? It's not going to be ADs. It's not going to be university presidents. It's going to be backroom, dumbass, bean counters at ESPN and Fox. Okay, so if we add this team, how much is it going to bring in revenue? Yep. Right, and that's all it's all about. It's all going to be is how much money can we squeeze out of this beautiful sport that we love.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, and that's why I actually respect Nick Saban for what he said. He's like, I think this is hurting college football. He's like, we're lucky, we're one of the haves, but the teams that are have-nots, they're going to go into oblivion. So he's just doing what he's supposed to do, taking advantage of the situation, even though he doesn't like the situation. I was like, dadgum, man, I agree with that 100%. I don't like the direction it's going, but if it's going in that direction, then we need coaches and ADs and TV representatives, whatever you want to call them, trying to make the right moves to make sure your favorite team, whoever it may be, stays valuable.
J-Dub can back me up on this, but is Nick Saban talking about parity? I mean, let's just stop. Let's not have that car. I mean, it's easy to be magnanimous when you have all the money, known to man for your program. I mean, the dude has analysts that were head coaches, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? So let's not talk about it's equal or whatever, but I don't blame Alabama. You got the money, do it, right? It's just the evolution of football. And unfortunately, just like every decade or two, some great programs get left behind. That's just life, isn't it?
So, yeah. Tim, are you telling me Iowa State don't have 53 coaches on their staff like Alabama?
No, I'm not saying they're the only ones. Dude, listen, this isn't me throwing shade. This is you're hearing jealousy, dude. You're hearing legitimate jealousy right now. Okay, I'm not.
Here's the difference. You can complain about how many coaches Alabama has on staff. If your school wants to hire 53 coaches, they can hire 53 coaches. All Saban's doing is figure out where. Well, all he's saying is figure out where the guidelines are. Right now, we don't really have any guidelines. He said in 2011, you want to speed up the game? Is that what you want to do? Is this where we're going? With the RPO, is this where you really want college football? And everybody said, oh, he's crying and he's whining. The game's leaving him behind. What did he do? He showed up in 4 championship games in a row. Then he talked about the transfer portal. What did he do? He showed up in more championship games.
Yeah.
Saban is playing the field, and he's playing the easily irked. And the people that can't stand him get ticked off. And all he's saying is, just tell me where the guidelines are, and then I'm going to use those guidelines and beat you at your own game.
So my point,
and the other people know it. They know it's coming. They know once the rules are in place and the boundaries are set.
All right, I get you.
As long as Saban's in Tuscaloosa, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I get you. And that wasn't my argument whatsoever. No one here just said that Saban isn't killing it. All right, that's not what we're saying. We're saying it's very easy to be magnanimous. It's easy to be magnanimous and say that, well, I want parity in football. And, there hasn't been parity in football in decades, right? And by the way, Jada, well, hold on, Jada. Not everybody can afford 50 assistants and one who is just a head coach. You got a lot of programs out there that don't have that ESPN deal that the SEC has, the Fox deal that the Big Ten has. Not all these programs have that. That's our problem right now. That's why you're seeing that's why you're seeing football being destroyed. That's why we had this great, it was perfect setting. We had 10 team conferences, about 8 or 9 of them, all over regional, and made the sport beautiful. And what ESPN and Fox are doing is destroying that. And I'd love to hear anyone tell me how this is making things better, because it's not.
If I can research,
and like we're not questioning Alabama or Nick Saban over this. He's being smart about it. We're trashing what's led up to this.
Correct. So am I. If I could reset the 2014, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. From the
moment it was announced, I spoke out against Oklahoma and Texas coming into the SEC. Now, I can't tell you that I foresaw that this was going to lead to the other things that happened. Yeah. I just didn't like it because I saw it as an eating away of the tradition. And I don't like the eating away of what we've done to the bowl games. I wish the playoffs were maybe the New Year's Six, and then you took the best two, or on some kind of a BCS rankings after the New Year's Six were played. And then those two played one more game for the championship, because that would restore the New Year's Six to their prominent places.
I agree with that to some degree, but the thing.
How about this? Here's an idea that a guy brought up to me I was over at Iowa State just yesterday, and a guy whose name I'm not going to mention brought up an idea about NIL. He says, "How about they put in place a program, if they could figure out how to do this legally, saying a player cannot receive a dime of NIL money until they have completed 1 year on campus."
But they can't do that, J-Dub, because it can't be about, so what was weird yesterday was when Kiffin, who I love, is talking about, hey, pay this guy to come to our school and this and that. That's not how NIL is supposed to freaking work. I don't know what
right. It's not supposed to be a recruiting tool.
So let me say that though. So given that, then how can you say that you only get this amount of money if you play at this school? You're saying the same thing. So it can't be to play a whole. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you saying that to play a year for free and then they can get a deal?
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is you can't throw money out there saying, if you come here, you get this, and you haven't even played one down yet. We don't even know if you're going to be a starter, and you're making money. You haven't earned it. You haven't done anything yet.
That's actually fair. That's I mean, if they want to call it pay for play,
that's kind of what Saban was saying.
Let it be paid for play. You got to play it, and then you get paid. Right. It's not the other way around.
Yeah, that's what Saban was saying, is you're throwing all these promises out to these kids, saying, come here and you'll get this and you'll get that. You don't even know if these kids are going to be starters. You don't even know, just because he's got a 5-star or 4-star, So you're throwing the money out there, and some of these kids are going to get hosed.
But here's the funny thing about all this NIL. And I mean, I'm a huge Bama fan, and I've been a Bama fan for almost 50 years. You got teams like Alabama, Nick Saban. You got Jimbo Fisher. You've got Lane Kiffin and all these people complaining about NIL, how it gives one school an advantage over another school. Well, how does Iowa State feel, or Houston feel, that the Big Ten and the SEC's getting all this extra money and they're not getting the money? You know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing. They talk about, we need parity, but they don't want Baylor to get $100 million like the Big Ten's going to get. Or
that's my point.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how
It's like this super chat. David Cummings, thank you for the $5 donation. Right on the head. Why can't we just blame who is responsible for all this? Disney and ESPN. And I am. They will get what they want because money talks. And that's what this boils down to. But it's not just Disney and ESPN. You have to throw Fox out there. You have to throw out NBC with Notre Dame. CBS was in the game for a while, but they got outbid by ESPN for the SEC. That's the problem right there. You're looking at it. And even going back to whenever they introduced the playoff system, whenever they announced how they were doing it, I was like, what are you thinking? Look, all people wanted was a playoff system. They didn't want to take out how it's determined and replace it with human beings that have, a stake in the game, to where teams that are getting in are like, why'd you put that team in? And then there's argument for that, blah, blah, blah. You should have kept the BCS ranking system in and just expanded the playoffs. The ranking system itself worked fine. That part was fine. Yes, there was a little error here and there, but I liked the system. It's just
you're talking to a Trojan fan.
It needed to be expanded.
2003 and 2008, that shit was broken. That's all I'm going to say. I'm leaving it right there. But what they should have done was add a +1. They should have had a +1. Leave your bowls up. Do you remember back in the 90s and into the 2000s? We were all talking about, imagine one day what we should do is, and they're talking about adding one. They're talking about adding one freaking game to the season. And everyone's like, no, hell no, no way. All we want to do is have the bowl games, let them play out right. At the end of the bowl season, you have a good idea. There's one or two teams. There's LSU and USC at the end after the bowls or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And then let them play. That's what it should have been. But instead,
that's what I said earlier, Tim. Yeah. That's what I said. Yeah. Restore the New Year's Six to their proper place and their proper elevation, and then take your two best winners out of the New Year's Six and have them play a one-off for the national championship. Because then
I'm cool with that.
Let's say you win the Fiesta Bowl. Let's say you win the Fiesta Bowl, but you're not one of the two that go to the championship game. Hey man, you still won the Fiesta Bowl. That's a big deal. I remember getting to the Sugar Bowl when I was an Alabama student. We weren't thinking about winning national championship. We just wanted to go to the Sugar Bowl so we could get a trip to New Orleans. Let's restore those.
New Year's Six Bowl, the value of it has been diminished. I mean, even last year's Rose Bowl, I thought it was awesome. I watched every single minute of that game. Ohio State with that great comeback, but people didn't think about the Rose Bowl like they used to. It used to be champions of the Big Ten versus the champions of the Pac-12, granddaddy of them all. Now, not only is it not that, but it gets rotated into the playoff system to where it's not necessarily going to be a Pac-12 versus a Big Ten team. So even like traditions have been ruined, value of the New Year's Six Bowls have been ruined. There had to have been a way to incorporate the playoffs, but still keep the value of the New Year's Six Bowls relevant.
And here's what we have.
Speaking of value, I wanted to thank Learning by Doing for his $19.99 super sticker. Greatly appreciate you supporting the show, buddy.
So awesome. we would put Pac and Big Ten in the rows like always before. You'd send Big 12 to Orange. You'd send you could make the Peach Bowl an ACC bowl. You could make the Sugar Bowl the SEC like it always has been. And then you have like the Cotton and the Fiesta kind of floating around as like at-larges and the second place in the conference or whatever.
Yeah.
Figure out your way to do that. But then the picky part is, how do you determine who your two are? Is there a committee? Is there a BCS formula? And you know what? That might actually add in an odd, perverse way, Tim. I don't know what your age is, but if we go back to when I was a college student, when I was a high school student, when I was first loving the game, every year there was a bitch over how the hell they get voted number one, and it just increased the interest in the game. So
I can sympathize with that, because in '93, West Virginia was number 3 at the end of the season, undefeated and they put in a one-loss Florida State in over West Virginia to play Nebraska in the national championship. So I 100%.
I started following college football for decided it was my sport when I was 11 years old, and Alabama was number 5, and they beat the only undefeated team in the country, number 1, in their bowl game, and 3 beat 2. And who got voted national champion? 3. They beat a one-loss number 2, but one-loss Bama at 5 beat the only undefeated team in the country, number 1, and they should have jumped number 3 and been the champion, and instead they gave it to Notre Dame. And so here we go. Then you have the great argument. See, we can get back to those days again. Yeah. You could most times we're going to know. Most times I think all of us here could probably agree. After the New Year's Six, there's going to be 2 schools that are standing there going, you know what? They won so clearly, and they clearly got the talent. Yeah. It's obviously these 2. And then you can go play that neutral site somewhere. But just think about the greatness. If I don't know, pick your year, 2026. Let's just say 2026. You have a really impressive bowl win by Miami, and a really impressive New Year's Six bowl win by USC, and a really impressive New Year's Bowl 6 win by Penn State. And now one of those is going to get left out. Oh, baby. Then we get back to the, you know, the whole country's talking about it again. And it restores that what makes college football so unique and so great. You still get your champion, and everybody agrees. This was the format we agreed on. Whoever emerges, that's the champion. But you're still going to have the people that are, you know, it adds to the, what's the old saying, what they say about, I don't care if they spell my name wrong as long as they got it up on the marquee.
How many times in history? So I know you've been a fan for years. How many times have you ever thought that there were 3 teams that could have been so here's the thing. You're going to have
several. It's usually not.
Yeah, it's usually down to 2. And so at the end of the season, one thing, the dust settles, you go, okay, wow, this team should have got a shot. You know, USC should have got a shot in the BCS in 2003, right? Or something like that. Or 2008, USC should have got a shot instead of Oklahoma or whatever. You look at, there's this one team that got left out. If you did the bowls the way they normally would be, run through and do a +1, all that crying from USC goes away. All that crying from LSU goes away. All that stuff just goes away because you got your shot. You ran it through. You traditional the regular season keeps its place. Right. You haven't invalidated regular season. That your conference championship game still holds on to the importance of winning a conference is important still, and the bowl games are all still important. And then you just have one more game, and that would have been it. But here's the problem: I can tell we're all college football fans in here. None of us are making money off it. Well, except for Gold and Blue Dude. This is our livelihood, right? This is what we love, you know. And the problem is you got a bunch of bean counters somewhere in Manhattan going, okay, hold on. If we add this team to this conference, it's going to bring in 67 million. Nah, we don't want to cut them in for 90 million, so they're not in. Right. Even though the natural 100-year rivalry between these 2 schools, you know what though? For 15 million, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of cabbage. We're going to leave them out. And that's what we're stuck with now. It's a big bowl of fill in your noun there.
And you know, that's actually one of the reasons why every year, if you notice this, every year before the beginning of the season, what's the one team that ESPN likes to hype up over and over and over? Ohio State. Why? Because of their fan base. They want Ohio State to be in the national championship every stinking year, because they make a crap ton of money off of Ohio State fans.
Ohio State
they travel well. There's a lot of them. They spend a lot of money. They have a lot of big boosters, all that stuff. So I 100% agree with you, Tim. And I think Ohio State's a great example. Let me get to this super chat real quick. Appreciate you, Anthony Zappin. $20 donation. That's a big one. I appreciate it. But, of course, he's going to make me say, let's go Herd. But then shortly after he says, just kidding. He just likes to get me to say it. Let's hope WVU finds a way back to its natural rivals in the ACC. One day. Let me reread that. I read it wrong. Let's hope WVU finds a way to its natural rivals in the ACC one day, and not relegated to flying across the country to play games in Eugene, Oregon, and Tucson, Arizona, with teams WVU has no history with. That's what I was talking about earlier, where West Virginia and the Big 12 have conflicting interests, because I do think it's the right decision for the Big 12 to go after Oregon and Washington and those teams out of the Pac-12. But at the same time, that's bad for West Virginia, because it's just adding more travel. Even if it's just one extra long game, that's still one extra long game, and we're not gaining anything close to us. So that's why, and I'm sticking to it, whether it happens or not, but if the Big 12 goes after teams in the Pac-12, then they also have to go after teams in the ACC. But to your point earlier, I've actually been getting into arguments with UCF fans, because there was one news source, I think it was, Conley something media something. One media outlet named them the national champions in 2017, so that put UCF in the record books. If people aren't aware of this, it's a fact. In 2017, Alabama won a national championship from the playoffs, but UCF is in the NCAA record book as being a national champion in 2017. All you have to do is get one news outlet or one source, whatever, that counts to vote for you. Say, hey, they're our national champion this year, and you're put into the record books. I don't recognize UCF as national champs. So I thought the playoffs would get rid of that. But the one anomaly was what I just mentioned, UCF going undefeated, and one source that I've never heard of, I'll have to look it up again, named them national champs, and that got them into the NCAA record books. It kind of blew me away.
Well, I got asked the other day.
I got asked the other
day if I had.
Hold on, Jeff. Go ahead, Joey.
I have something interesting here. I have a chart with every channel: ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, Fox, Fox Sports 1, ABC, every channel. And I've got the 36 remaining teams that are not SEC or Big Ten teams right now. I've got all 36 of them here and where they rank. And I hear a lot of talk about UCF and they're 35th in this ranking. I hear a lot about North Carolina. They're 33rd. Number one is Florida State, number one school overall as far as television rankings. Somewhere West Virginia falls on this list at 16. So West Virginia is 16. If anybody wants to know one of the schools, that's left and what their television ranking it is, I can tell you. And GBD, this has been emailed to you as well.
Okay. And the cool thing about those rankings is that's not factoring in, if West Virginia were to play the teams in the ACC. This is West Virginia playing teams out of the Big 12, teams we don't have any history with, no rivalries with. I think 16th is pretty good, considering all the factors.
Yeah, this only goes back 5 years. This is the last 5 years. So, it's so I can tell you here real quick. We'll go down through them. Florida State, Oregon, Louisville. Louisville's number 3. I didn't expect that. Washington, Clemson, Miami, Virginia Tech, Washington State. Didn't expect that.
What?
Oklahoma State, right. Washington State's number 8. Oklahoma State, Utah, Virginia, Kansas State, Georgia Tech, Oregon State, Syracuse, WVU, Stanford, NC State, Baylor, Pitt, Arizona State, TCU, Boston College, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Cal, BYU, Duke, Wake, Colorado, Arizona, Cincinnati, UNC, Kansas, UCF, and Houston. Houston's dead last.
The two that surprised me above West Virginia the most was Washington State and Oregon State. And I would say the one team that surprised me below West Virginia was BYU. So, yeah.
The reason Washington State and Oregon State are so high is a lot of times when they're on TV, it's the only game. So
yes, and it's also who they are playing against.
Yeah, they're going to play in Oregon or USC. It's going to be the only game on at that time.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me the other day, because I'm such an Auburn hater, you know, would I like to see a giant meteor fly in from outer space and crash into Auburn? And I shocked them by saying, as much of a hater as I am, the answer is no, because I want Auburn to survive so that we can beat the hell out of them every year. What I wouldn't mind is if that meteor got halfway through the atmosphere, split in two, and the two chunks fell on Orlando, Florida, and Bristol, Connecticut, and wiped out ESPN and Disney.
Yeah, I can't totally disagree with that. Hey, look at our boy Wisconsin sports fan. He brought in his podcast partner in crime to come watch our live show. Hey, that's called building a brand. That's called helping out. You brought some eyeballs. We really appreciate that, Wisconsin fan. That's great work. Great work. Good.
Somebody asked earlier, how does Iowa State feel when they're about all this NIL? Okay, well, I deal with Iowa and Iowa State professionally, and I will be covering 7 Iowa State and 5 Iowa games this year, including I get the Iowa-Michigan game. I found that out. That got confirmed for me earlier this week, so I was pleased to hear that.
That's pretty cool.
But anyway, yeah, especially at that Penn State-Iowa game last year was amazing. Well, I'll tell you, what Iowa State is pleased about is the amount of money that Matt Campbell has helped bring into the program. Now, Iowa State, they're under no illusions and aims that they're about to turn into Texas. They know that. All they're saying is our slice of the pie used to be A. Now we're getting A and B. So we know we're never going to get to D, but now we've got A and B. So it's increasing. We're on the upswing. So they, you know, these smaller schools, they know they're not going to. I mean, Iowa State's they're not going to have. Come on, are you kidding me? You know?
Yeah.
Right, but the problem is, they're making more money.
Brock Purdy got $25,000 last year to make some appearances for John Deere dealerships across the state of Iowa. I mean, Bryce Young got $1 million at Alabama. Brock Purdy got $25,000 at Iowa State. That's not going to change anytime soon.
Right, but the problem that's going to hit is the Big Ten and the SEC for the last, 10, 15 years has made more money. But the problem is Iowa State can say, well, you know, we went from 30 million, we're going to go to 45 million. So that's great. But the Big Ten and the SEC are going from 45 to 50 million to 100 million. So you're making more, but you're losing ground. Instead of being within 80%, now you're under 50%.
Yeah, I get it. I agree. They're just saying what they can control. They're a school that doesn't have a lot of sway. So they're just trying not to drown. They're trying when the tsunami blows through to ride it out.
Well, on top of that, what you mentioned earlier, Matt Campbell, he's been a huge factor in people even talking about Iowa State, because before Matt Campbell, Iowa State was pretty much irrelevant. They were a terrible football program. And then along comes Matt Campbell, and he did have a letdown year last year. And I'm a member of a lot of Facebook groups on Facebook, and I promote the show and all that stuff. I was in an Iowa State group, and this was, I think, right before 2020 or 2021. I can't remember. But I just suggested, I said, hey, if Matt Campbell keeps having the success at Iowa State that he's having, these bigger brands are going to come calling and offer him some big money, and he might be gone. I got booted out of that Iowa State Facebook group just for even suggesting that bigger brands might want him. The sad thing is, it looks like they got their wish, because he kind of plateaued there for a minute and had a letdown year last year. I think he recruits at a really good level considering Iowa State. I think he's a good coach, but Iowa State's kind of in the same position as West Virginia. Like, it's a catch-22. Either you get a hold of a bad coach and you got to get rid of him and get a new one, or you get a hold of a really good coach and you become a stepping stone.
Right. And Iowa State's really only had 3 coaches. They had Earl Bruce in the 70s, who left to go to Ohio State.
Yep.
And they had Dan McCarney.
Dan McCarney.
Who was really good. But then he went on and became defensive coordinators at Florida and, kind of bounce around to different places. And now you have Matt Campbell.
Right.
Yeah. The one thing nobody in Ames really wants to talk about this. I've tried to bring it up a couple of times with friends in the SID office, and they don't really want to talk about it. Neither do the FPO people. But Iowa State and Kansas have the academics, and they have the endowment, and they have the research, and they're good enough in the non-football sports that if the Big Ten had to have somebody come in to maybe with Notre Dame and Stanford tells them no and Oregon tells them no or whatever, if it came down to the Big Ten was scratching and clawing and looking for somebody, Iowa State and Kansas are viable choices. Now, I think that is that is like a shot at Jupiter. I don't think that could ever possibly happen, but it's not one of those things that you automatically rule it out. It is a possibility of of what is left in the Big 12 right now. We speak. Those are the two that would most fit the Big Ten.
J-Dub, hold on one second. I'm going to unmute you here for a second, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm starting to fall asleep. I'm not really interested in Kansas or Iowa State. I want to talk about the ACC real quick because I got to wrap this up. I got some other stuff I got to do. So the video I made earlier was about Jim Phillips saying, hey, we want to expand to 20 teams. I think it's possible that they could lose their bigger brands, those 4, and maybe replace those. I just don't see I don't see the ACC being able to get to 20 teams, right? And then he listed the brands that he says the ACC are going to go after. Oregon, Washington, the Arizona schools, West Virginia, Cincinnati, basically the Big 12 and what the Big 12 is looking at. So Jim Phillips is out there saying that the ACC is going to go after the Big 12 and go after the Pac-12 teams that the Big 12 want. So this comes down to what we talked about earlier, the ACC versus the Big 12. That's what it comes down to. The Pac-12 is not going to be even existing for very much longer. My question is, what's more likely? And we're going to wrap it up with this, okay? What's more likely? And the Pac-12 is the biggest factor right here. So we know that Fox is not bidding on the Pac-12. ESPN wants to get the rights, and their plan is to try to pick the Big 12 apart because the Big 12 has Fox media rights. And the two biggest competitors, ESPN and Fox. One wants to run the other out of the building. Well, that's not going to happen because Fox has Big 10, SEC has – or ESPN has the SEC. So – what they want to happen is one of them wants to gain the advantage of having the third biggest conference. Okay, ESPN's thinking, okay, we can't knock over the Big 10, but maybe we can strengthen the ACC and pick apart the Big 12, and we'll have the two biggest conferences. And then on the other side of the aisle, Fox is thinking, all right, we can't knock off the SEC. We need to pick off from the ACC and Pac-12, and we'll have the top two biggest conferences. Who wins this? In y'all's opinion, and I know anything can happen, nobody knows what's going to happen. That's for sure. But an educated guess hasn't hurt anybody. Which direction, who do you think wins this battle? Do you think ESPN backs up the ACC and is like, hey, go after the Big 12, we're going to solidify the Pac-12, and we're going to split the Big 12 in two or make it one super conference so ESPN will have the SEC and the ACC, and then Fox would just have the Big 10? Or will it go the other way and Fox is like Big 12, go after Pac-12 and the ACC, and then we'll have the third largest? That's my biggest question right now.
Well, I think right now that the Big 12 made a big mistake by announcing that they were done with negotiations with the Pac-12. They needed to stay in the alliance like the Big 10. If you stay in the alliance, then it don't put urgency to the ACC. By them shutting the door, that's telling the ACC the race is on. Who's going to get these teams? Because the Big 12 is not going to negotiate a merger no more. So now the race is truly on. And I think that was a huge mistake. I think they should have led the Pac-12 on a little bit more, kind of like the Big 10 did.
Right. And I agree with that. So give us your last word on this, and then we'll go down the line. Who do you think comes out on top, Fox or ESPN? So if you say Fox, you're going with the Big 12. If you're going with ESPN, you're basically going with the ACC.
I think ESPN wins.
Okay, so you think the ACC turns out to be the third largest, right?
I think they will be by far.
Good stuff, man. I appreciate you. All right, on to we'll go to J-Dub. Who do you think wins?
ACC, in my opinion, is a dead man walking.
Okay.
ESPN is not the cash gods that everybody thinks it is. ESPN is losing 7 to 8 million subscribers a year. They're bleeding subscribers. That's eventually going to hurt. Eventually, Amazon and the streams are going to come in somewhere and try to make some kind of a play somewhere. I think we're headed for a big whoa Nelly for the next 2 or 3 years until the playoff system sorts itself out. And I just want to add one caveat before I leave here. One of the great things that the NFL has is that it's CBS, Fox, NBC.
Good point.
ESPN. It's spread out. If you do what Tim and I were talking earlier, if you do the New Year's 6+1, you can give a bowl game to CBS. You can give a bowl game to NBC. You can give a bowl game to ABC. It's not all controlled by ESPN or not all controlled by Fox.
Right.
It's divided all up and then set up a rotating basis. This year, you get the championship. Next year, you get the championship. Next year, you get the championship. Kind of like the NFL does. If they could come up with that kind of a model, which I don't think they will because they'd rather stab each other in the back first, it might survive. All I know is that I hope wherever you are living at this moment, that you're not in the heat and the humidity. Good health be with you all. Thanks, guys. We'll talk later.
All right. Thanks, J-Dub. I think he picked Fox. I'm not for sure. That was a lot to take in, but I think he picked Fox. Not for sure. Joey, do you want to give a last word real quick? I know you got yourself muted.
Sure. I'll give a last word here real quick. I think, in my opinion, that the ACC, well, we know the Pac-12 is done. I'm pretty sure the ACC is going to be done because there's too many teams in there that are going to get picked out. You're going to have Clemson, Florida State, Miami possibly picked out, and another team, maybe Virginia Tech or UNC, picked out. That's going to leave them very weak. I think that's going to end up bringing them to the Big 12, the leftovers. I think that Fox is going to win this battle just simply because of that. I think ESPN is going to make it implode on itself because they're going to bring in Clemson over into SEC and stuff. Now, as far as that chart I had, I emailed that to Tim and Jeff as well. So both of y'all have that chart. So anyway, that's all I have. I think that that Oklahoma, that Big 12 should go after Oregon and Washington myself. I really do. I think it would increase the numbers and just tell them they don't have to sign in rights. That way, if they get anybody to leave, they can leave. Come on over and play in the Big 12. If nothing else, it increases the payout and it strengthens the Big 12. I don't like it any more than anybody else. I don't think West Virginia should have to travel across the country to play a game and play other sports. Yeah. But if it's going to get the revenue up, we're going to have to do it. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you, Joey. All right, Tim. I think you got yourself muted.
My bad. Sorry, I didn't think I want to hear me eat my lunch. Hey, I just feel that the problem again is going back to money, and what people got to realize is people keep crapping on the Pacific Northwest schools, you got two pretty good programs in Washington and Oregon up there. And although they aren't OSU or Alabama or Georgia, or Texas, they're not that level, but they're a hell of a lot better programs than some of the teams I see that are in the ACC, the Big 12. And what I see coming next is again, because I think it's a bunch of penny pinching bastards up in New York that they're going to make the decisions for this sport, not fans with boots on the ground, is that there's going to be some contraction before there's more expansion. I think there is a big pause button right now. I think between Fox and also J-Dub, to your point about ESPN hedging, they're just going to pivot. People are cutting the cord, and that's what's happening with them. And it's not just an ESPN thing; it's just cable in general. People are going to streaming. And if anyone, if you go to business school, it's first the market's huge, and that name recognition for ESPN is still going to carry weight. And if they pivot to an online, they already have it. They're just not fully invested in it yet. But if they go that route, they'll have the name recognition to be solid in that market as well. But I think it's going to be, I think it's a toss-up because, again, I think all three are gone. It's now the big two. It's the power two and the group of 7 now, or 8, or what the hell it is now. I can't keep track anymore. So you're going to be seeing a situation where if you're the bottom of one of those conferences, you better be sweating bullets.
Yeah.
USC bailed out. I got a bunch of heat yesterday from another call-in show because I made the point saying that any team that's not in the SEC or the Big Ten that got that, Willy Wonka golden ticket to come join, everybody's going to join that. I don't care what you say about ruining conferences or whatever. It's all done. What we knew is gone. You know what I mean? You can either you can go down the ship or you can hop on that life raft. But unfortunately, there's only a certain amount of seats on the life raft, and smaller schools are going to get left out. So who's going to win? Nobody. Who's going to lose? All of us college fans. That's my answer.
Good job, buddy. Appreciate you. Yeah, he actually, you know what? Maybe that was a trick question because that's pretty much what I was going to say. Does it even matter? Because eventually what we're looking at is the Big Ten and the SEC splitting off and creating their own league. And one has Fox and one has ESPN. So that third league is going to get chopped up and the biggest brands will get absorbed into either the SEC or the Big Ten. So it's really a phase. Whenever you're going through changes, sometimes you have to go through phases instead of going from what you are to what you're going to be. You have to go through the stuff in the middle. And I think that's where we are right now. We're in the middle. So as far as who will win that third spot before we get to the final phase, it is a toss-up. But if Jim Phillips is as aggressive as he's acting like, then I think the ACC has a shot. And I think it bodes bad for the Big 12 that it's come out that the Pac-12 Big 12 merger has, the talks have ceased. That basically gives the ACC the green light. We know that ESPN and the ACC are actively renegotiating that TV deal. So I would have to give the edge to the ACC, but it wouldn't surprise me either way. And if the Big 12 does end up getting those teams out of the Pac-12, please have enough sense to try to get some teams out of the ACC as well, because you don't want to leave your teams on the east side on an island. So, if they go out and can get like a Pitt, Virginia Tech, Louisville, a Syracuse even, I'd be okay with that. 4 teams like that's on the East Coast that we can be in a pod that draws interest from the fans and the viewers, because that's what it's all about. It's all about eyeballs. So don't create matchups that nobody's interested in. West Virginia and UCF, nobody cares about that. West Virginia fans care about that, but nobody else does. UCF fans, they're a smaller fan base. They are growing. They care about it, but nobody else does. I would even go West Virginia, Cincinnati. Decent rivalry, I guess you could call it in the Big East, but it's not one of our good rivalries. Nobody really cares about that. So we need to make sure the Big 12 needs to make sure if they get those teams off the West, they need to grab some teams out of the East and create some good matchups on both sides of the divide. Otherwise, you're going to have a lopsided conference, and you're leaving West Virginia, Cincinnati, and UCF out on an island. So hopefully smarter heads prevail, and they do that. Make it as even as possible. All right, guys, it's time for me to get off here. I have some other real-life stuff going on, although I love doing this. This is my life. I'm one of the few fortunate people that have been able to turn this into actually making money, and I want to thank each and every one of you. I couldn't do it without you. I could sit here and yap my head off, but if nobody's watching, then there is no Gold and Blue Dude. So I want to thank everybody that came out, watched Gold and Blue Dude, everybody that commented, everybody that hit the like button. Hey, hit the like button on your way out. It still helps because this will get replayed, even the live chat, everybody. So let's get this thing suggested to as many people as possible so that they can watch as well, even when it's not live. So on your way out, please hit the like button. But thank you to all that have hit the like button. Everybody that came on as a guest on StreamYard, everybody that super chatted, everybody that watched, everybody that commented, everybody, I appreciate you. And if you're not a subscriber of Gold and Blue Dude, as long as you're a college football fan, I'm pretty sure you're going to like this channel. If you're not a college football fan, don't even worry about it. You're not going to like it. But if you are, I'm pretty sure you will. Probably going to have another live show tomorrow. Don't know the time. So if you are a subscriber, hit the bell. That way you get notified because I do not have a schedule. Schedules do not work for me. So until tomorrow, y'all have a good day. And Gold and Blue Dude is done for the day. I don't have any more videos coming out. Did my 2 earlier. I'll see y'all tomorrow.